Marvel versus DC gaming. Why is Marvel beating the hell out of DC?
Yeah.
Squeaks, when you first hear about Marvel versus DC gaming, what's your initial opinion on who's winning that fight?
It's unfortunate to say that it's not even like a battle, really.
Yeah,
Marvel's winning, and I think my one sentence hitter is that Marvel's putting its IPs into different companies and whatnot, and just seeing
yeah,
what, like I said recently, sticks on the wall. If it's not
hmm
successful, it's not successful, and they're not always going to be. I enjoyed Marvel Avengers, that Square Enix did.
yeah.
I had a lot of fun with it, but it didn't get, as much love as I gave it love. And you know what? Fine, whatever. They're moving on to the next thing. What do they got? Marvel Rivals. Okay. They got
hmm
this really, I feel like anticipated 1941. Is that what it is? Or
Three.
43? One
Yeah,
coming out. And it's like an awesome idea. Combining Black Panther with Captain America. They're doing card games, Again, Marvel Rivals is
Marvel
nothing
Snap.
like they've
Yeah.
done before, whatever.
hmm
DC's sticking with one company, it seems like.
Sorry.
Any
Yeah.
other game that's not a Rocksteady game is unheard of. So there's a lot of like these I'll take that back, Injustice, but there's a lot of like their own like app games. Who gives a shit? So
Yeah.
uh my thing is just like they're not branching out to multiple game publishers.
To me, it's perceived loss as well. Like it does feel like Marvel's across the board just
Hmm.
firing on more cylinders. And DC, the day that Marvel Rivals was released, DC revealed their new game, and it was an app. And it was just like,
Yeah.
oh, you all lost this fight.
Yeah, like who
um,
cares? Yeah.
and then yeah, Injustice is notable. And then when I
Yes.
posed this question online, my feedback from people was like, "Oh, DC wins because Batman Arkham is the best." I'm like,
Yeah,
great.
crazy.
10 years ago, I enjoyed that game too. You
Yeah.
know, what
Yeah.
what have you done for me lately? Marvel's
It,
beating them now, and that's what
exactly.
matters.
They have one game, one series, and I get that. And
Yeah,
it's a phenomenal series, right? I think it changed like it's generational, like the Arkham
yeah.
Asylum. Um, but you're not doing anything different besides that. Now, I actually really enjoyed Kill the Justice League, the Suicide Squad game. It got a lot of hate for like the paid
Yeah.
services or whatever. I
Gotham
actually played the
Knights
hell
2
out of
was
it.
was better than people gave it credit for.
Yeah. So I played the hell out of Suicide Squad until like some of the DLCs were coming out. Then I kind of just gave up because the grinding was too much. And I'm a grinder
Yeah.
too, like we play World of Warcraft and shit. So um I don't know, like they just gotta go with it, and that was Rocksteady as well. They gotta go with someone else. Put it
Yeah.
all out there. Who's gonna make it? It doesn't even have to be Batman, right? Why the hell are we not getting like I mean I'm gonna say a Green Lantern Corps type game, Superman
hmm
tour, game, a Wonder Woman by itself, back in the World War One, to like have her fight these things. It'd be badass things
That'd be great.
in the view of like a God of War style. So like you got to put it out there. Like you can't just give it a Rocksteady and have him do everything because
And
clearly they can't land it all the time.
right. And it doesn't need, and you need to have other options on that. We're starting to get that with Star Wars. And then with
Hmm.
Marvel, the breadth of genres that they're hitting. So I got a couple written down here. You have that mobile game like Marvel Snap, you have a hero shooter like Marvel Rivals, and you have a AAA single player game, I mean, so PlayStation with the Spider-Man game.
Yeah,
But then we look at some of the other things that also worked out well. So the 2018 version sold over 25 million copies, meaning it's a blockbuster hit for gaming. Spider-Man 2, 11 and under a year. And then we might have forgotten these games, but Guardians of the Galaxy and
I
Midnight
love that game.
Suns are both critically acclaimed games. They weren't like huge sellers, but they were
Yeah,
still like award winners. And it's like,
yeah.
okay, so DC, when you guys come out with a game that's not a big hit, it's not an award winner, it's downed quite a bit by people, like you were saying with the Justice League game or Suicide
Mm.
Squad game. So yeah. So, what drives this momentum to you guys? What do you guys think is pushing Marvel ahead of DC on this one? I'll start off with us. You were saying beforehand that smart partnership. They're picking really good people to work with. Insomniac, they rarely miss. You
Hmm.
have Arc System Works. They were new, but the board had like proven team put together and stuff like that. I think that idea of spreading across multiple companies and getting new
Hmm.
voices on your IP worked well for them.
Yeah,
What other
yeah.
things have helped their momentum?
I mean, that's my big one. That's what I agree with.
Yeah.
You gotta have just what is Square Enix did Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, if I remember correctly. And I really
hmm
love that game, but you gotta give even you just have a one trick pony right now, and then that's the problem.
Yeah.
It's I mean, that's solely it. I don't see what else it is. You got to give EA a chance, give someone else, Ubisoft a chance to make something different and explore a
Yeah.
different part of the world. Like, I mean, come on, you had EA do Jedi Survivor, right? And
Hmm.
we fell in love with a brand new character that was never introduced until that game was released. So why not, even if it's an oddball character, fucking
Yeah.
Satana, Santana or whatever. Do a game
Great.
about her. Do a game about the Birds of Prey, like that cast of characters. Like
Which
why not?
Marvel's doing that. They're mixing the flagship characters with the niche characters. Great
Yeah,
example. Before Marvel Rivals, how many people were talking about Jeff the Land Shark? Not a lot.
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
And now
yeah,
he's on the cover with Crypto for the new DC Marvel crossover. Like
yeah,
he's a big character. Um, Luna Snow. She was a South Korean favored Marvel character, not known out of South Korea. Now people are getting tattoos of her. And it's
yeah,
like, picking up some of the older, there's so many really cool characters in DC. Constantine. Like, I know people know him, but he's not
yeah.
used enough. Is a great character as well.
You can make that
Uh,
in a different type of game too, like a horror type still with
oh, yeah.
Constantine. I mean, you're
Oh,
naming
yeah.
these characters, and it's like, come on. I mean, my favorite right now is I'm picking up comics of him because it just randomly introduces Peacemaker. Peacemaker has a season 2 coming. I'm sure he'll be in some other movies. Why are you not
Yeah.
making an action game of Peacemaker? Like, come on.
Really good. Yeah. Yeah, you could do like a Grand Theft Auto style almost with him. That'd be really fun.
Yeah, sure.
I
Jonathan's
think
back from tending to Marco. How you doing?
yeah, sorry. I think also though Marvel is, being under Disney, they have probably a lot more money to work with in this realm, more to
Yeah.
invest in risk versus if DC, takes a big swing on making a Peacemaker game, but maybe it's not something they're used to doing or something like that, and it misses, it might be a lot bigger impact on their business than it would be if Marvel produces
Well,
a game that
yeah, and I think
doesn't
that's
go
why you
through.
got to give it to WB Games. I mean, they did the
Yes.
Lord of the Rings, and you don't want to
Oh yeah.
copy, and they copycat. Let's see, like Batman, Arkham, like fighting, whatever. But they
Right.
have a studio. I mean,
Yeah.
and WB is ties with DC. Why not?
They just did that Harry Potter game that was quite good.
Mhm.
Yes,
Skin
yes.
that as going to Justice League instead of Hogwarts. You know?
Like talking dirty like that.
Did I just sell you on a brand new game idea? What if it's
Right.
Teen
Just
Titans? There you go.
There you go. Even better.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Marvel has a lot of momentum behind it, in the variety of formats too. DC, we talked a lot about the troubled landscape that they've had. They've had no major DC hits since 2017. That's Injustice 2, which how hard is it to make an Injustice 3? You know what I'm saying?
well, I mean that
Um,
too. I'm gonna say is NetherRealm's doing it, and they are gonna do Mortal Kombat because that's their baby. So it's gonna be
which
off and
is,
on, off and on.
but that's
Mortal
what we
Kombat
wanted
one
them to
wrapped
do,
up.
right? Is use other
Yeah,
studios. And you're
exactly.
exactly proving your own point there. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think what we got, since Mortal Kombat 1 is I think officially wrapped up now, I think we'll get that Injustice 3 pretty soon. At
Yeah.
least a trailer.
The games that they do release nowadays, so like we were talking about with Guardians of the Galaxy when it released, success financially no, but critically yes. But when you see something like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League or Gotham Knights, it was neither. You didn't impress the critics or the so you can't hang your head on anything. But both those games cost the same amount of money. And so it's
Hmm.
like you have to do something with it when you come out with it. And they leaned in on those live service games, which we thank God are past that phase now in gaming. But it was like, okay, so you're not going to fully back it up. Same thing with Marvel Avengers. That to say Marvel was perfect is ill-fated, but you once you stop supporting those games, then everybody stops playing them, and you're forgotten, and you have to issue
Yeah.
refunds a lot of times.
Yeah.
And then the next Rocksteady game is years away. That's their main partner. It's years away for the next Batman game. And then the latest one that they announced was in VR, which is basically a death sentence because VR is so niche that rarely gets used or
Yeah, and you only
accepted.
fucking gave it to what, the MetaQuest. Like there's still the PlayStation one
Yeah,
and there's rumors of an Xbox one. I mean, I have the PlayStation and it's like I was looking forward to it because like now I have it finally VR and I'm like only on Meta. I'm like, what? Why is
yeah,
this not released to all of them? And plus, I mean, VR is not the biggest thing right now. So why are you only gonna cap it to one system? It was
yeah.
stupid, stupid ideas,
An
man.
underselling system compared to the others too. Yeah.
God.
And then I think your most potent character, Superman. When is the last successful Superman game? Never existed. There's
Yeah.
never been a successful Superman game. Superman 64 is infamously one of the worst games to release on that platform. I played it, but it still doesn't mean it was good. And flying has only been somewhat successful DC wise in DC Universe. An MMO that's still active, and they never advertise it. That game is
Mhm.
their most successful game in the last 15 years probably, as in like consistent players, and they never advertise it. Meanwhile, everybody praises the Arkham games, and I always see those sons of bitches on a all three games for $5 sale every summer
Yeah,
sale, every sale that there is
yeah.
always available.
Mm.
But DC Universe is the last time they actually nailed flying into mechanics, and it's never advertised. Like, just use that, guys. It's sitting right there. But yeah,
Yeah.
it just sits there empty.
I mean, it's essentially Spider-Man. Yeah, instead of swinging across the city, just fly across the city and then drop down and do some damage. I mean, shit.
So, say I gave you James Gunn's personal phone number, and he says,
Hmm.
"Squeaks, I need you to run our gaming department. What's your first move?"
Oh, fuck. Um, it has to. I mean, I'm gonna take that challenge, and it has to be a Superman, right? Because you see Captain
Yeah.
America like everywhere on the Marvel side. So we got to drop the flagship of DC. And while it's hot right now, with the movie being released soon, why not? You know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I
Jonathan,
mean, that has to be
yeah.
it. It's the biggest challenge, but it has to be it.
Jonathan, what are you thinking? What's your first move if James Gunn taps you?
Learn anything about video game development? I
Yeah.
have no idea. Yeah,
You just got to be
I
the
would
brains. You
tank
don't
it
have to do
quickly.
anything.
Yeah,
Storytelling. Whatever
yeah,
it is.
yeah. No, I like the idea though of making in just like we see with the movies, make an individual game for each one and make the game play different. Like have a Captain America, or sorry, wrong. Have a Wonder Woman game where you're out in the jungle and you're fighting poachers and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and then Superman, you're flying through the city and bigger stakes, and then Batman, and then bring them together after a while to be like a Justice League game would be kind of cool too, because you build them out in their own game. Even multiple series, multiple versions of their game would be fine. But then bring them together later too. Just like we see with everything, DC. It's always build out these characters and then bring them together for the Justice League. But I
Hmm.
don't know. That's all I would do. Or it might be a good platform to experiment with some of the lesser known characters
Right.
and see who really takes off from there.
I'm trying to think with Superman, it's hard because his traversal's too easy. Like Batman, I think is the one you'd want to use for open world games, just like you do with
Yeah.
Spider-Man, because their traversal is a little bit more tactile. You have to feel swinging on those buildings. You have to feel gliding through narrow buildings with Batman. Superman, you just fly. So I'm like, is
Yeah.
there a version of gaming where you don't have an open world Superman? Would he work in side scroller? Would he work in Battlers? I mean, he does
Yeah. It
work in
has to be open
Injustice.
world.
You think has
You
to be open
want,
world? There's
yeah,
nothing else?
it has to be. I mean, the flying is, and they have to do something to make the flying just satisfying, right? Like it's fun to fly. Like I don't need checkpoints to travel across the map. I want to fly. I mean, it's kind of like almost. I mean,
Yeah,
kind of not. I mean, you really enjoyed Red Dead just riding a horse,
of
so it
course.
has to be
Yeah,
something just tied into be like, what's
immersive.
so satisfying about, you
You know,
know?
you know how you make flying a challenge though is just like any game where you drive a car and the car has real sensitive handling and you might overshoot where you're aiming for. Make flying like, hey, I could
Yeah,
fly 1,000 miles an hour if I try, or I could fly 2 miles an hour. But it's hard to gauge how fast am I going and did I just accidentally fly through a building and now I just killed 100 people, or
yeah, yeah.
make it to where it's not the easiest thing to do. So it does take skill and practice to do it right.
I like that idea because that makes it satisfying when you do nail that because you
Yeah,
practice so much. I'm
it's
playing
got
a
to be
game,
challenging. Yeah.
yeah, which I'll recommend called Rematch, and it's a soccer game. It's like a
Oh yeah, that
3v3,
just came out.
5v5.
Yeah.
That's a really hard controls, and you're like, man, I
Mm.
play FIFA my whole life. But once you kind of like get that down, even like I'll say it's a Valorant. Valorant is just really high skill, but once you kind of get it down, then you're like, oh man, this is so badass. Now look what I can do. I'm spinning in the air through buildings or something, you know.
Mm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
make the controls a little challenging. That'd be kind of neat.
What about this? Okay, I know we're really pushing on Superman right now because we're trying to find a way for their flagship to work for themselves. Instead of making a very powerful traversal character in a small place, you just make the place bigger. To where what if it's kind of like Supergirl World of Tomorrow? We're still using Superman though, and he has to like, hey, there's an intergalactic threat. We need you to go to save our solar system. And
Mm.
so now you're bouncing around from planet to planet. You're using random map generators to build these worlds out, and you're literally flying from world to world. And then all of a
Mm.
sudden the scale makes sense for Superman's abilities. He does feel like this is a little bit more of a pain in the ass, And the further
But
away
he
you
would
get
take a
from the
spaceship,
sun,
wouldn't
the
he?
harder it is for you to fight.
Yeah.
He
That would
does
be
have a
cool,
spaceship, yeah.
like a No Man's Sky essentially, where like or maybe even
That's the
like
game I was trying to think of, and I forgot the name of. Yeah, thank you.
yeah, that or even like Starfield where you like, okay, I'll fast travel to this planet, but
You could do
then
that, yeah.
fast travel to like in space though, so where it comes like you're coming down from it. That would be pretty
Right.
neat,
And
I'm
you
down
land
for it.
and like yeah, you're generating it all, so it's fine. But then there are things where you're trying to like for all your things are to save Earth, but there's a coming invasion of Brainiac, and so you're fighting everything off or whatever, and or maybe Zod and his troops are loose from the negative zone or whatever, and they're fighting in. So you're preventing things from getting to Earth, kind of like you would in
Hmm.
Helldivers 2,
Hmm.
essentially. Um, and then like when you're on the outer rings, when you're out by Pluto and stuff like that things are harder because not that not that they're necessarily unbeatable, but you're farther from the sun, so you're weaker. And when you come back to Earth, you're stronger and stuff. So it could be this
Yeah,
fun little
yeah.
balance. Boss battle is actually on Mars, where you're closer to the sun, so you're super strong, but you're fighting Brainiac's big machine that's literally like using Mars as its machine or something like you could really upscale
Mm,
stuff. It'd be fun to toy with that, I think.
yeah, yeah.
So
And we always, Kryptonite's obviously his weakness. So if
yeah.
we could see something where, he's on the planet, I'm thinking kind of like Avatar with the firebenders, but there's a comet of Kryptonite coming. So Lex Luthor has it planned out. He mapped it. Maybe even he even sent a rocket to direct the comet to come their way or something like that. But it's gonna orbit the planet on a certain day, so he's planning an attack that he'll kill Superman during that battle
Oh,
or
I
something like
love
that.
that. Yeah.
And so he either has to go confront the comet ahead of time in space and try to stop it from reaching their orbit, but once he gets close enough, he'll be weak, or he has to prepare to defend himself and protect the people while he's weak and has no power. That'd be kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think it could just happen in a way of like I'm thinking like boss fights, right? Just one on one, you're going at it and you're super strong, right? But it's going to give that God of War feel because Kratos is obviously this essentially super strong going against another
Yeah.
strong.
It's not a
Um,
bad thing. Yeah.
but I'm thinking like, oh, like quick actions, right? Like just imagine Brainiac has some type of machine that's like kind of grabbing him, but you're spamming like whatever button to release it and then just shoot
Mhm.
laser at him to free yourself. Like that shit would be so cool to see
Quick
up close
times is
cinematics like that.
nailed it, dude. Quick times on
Yeah.
a Superman game are sick. So yeah, like you're
Yeah.
like pushing back. You always see that in a classic Superman movie where like you barely, no matter what it is,
Yeah.
you could barely lift it. It could be a
Hmm.
planet
Hmm.
or it could be a bus, but he's barely
Yes,
pushing or
yes.
barely lifting. And you're spamming the button. But as soon as you get it, you're like, okay, now press X, and suddenly you see him like do a cool laser move, but it's all quick time action, so
Yeah.
you're not actually doing the laser move.
Yeah.
Perfect, just like you would be in God of War. We got
Yeah,
something
and
cooking here, guys.
yeah, I mean essentially it's like Final Fantasy 16, we're about to wrap up here, so hopefully today. Where you're having these massive battles, but then in mid battle, end battle, whatever are these yeah, quick scenes, whatever you call them, quick actions,
Yeah,
whatever. That just makes it feel like it's way more than just a video game, like this big
yeah.
cinematic deal. And Final Fantasy 16 does a great job of that.
Yeah, there we go. I need to play that. I need to play some Final Fantasy. I'm doing South by Midnight right now, which you were right is very good.
Yeah,
That
very
was a
good.
good call.
Yeah.
And then I'm also playing a little bit of Mafia. So I'm trying to go through that back
Oh,
catalog
okay.
before eventually World of Warcraft takes me again.
I'm
So
kind of doing the same. Yeah.
and of course there's always Marvel Rivals. I'm trying to be platinum, but I'm slipping now. Back to that was my transition back. So what's next? So for Marvel's future state right now, we have Marvel Tokum. It was a recently announced fighting game. It's basically their version of like a classic Capcom fighter, but it's going to be all Marvel characters. We have 1943 Rise of Hydra, which is looking gorgeous. We've got Wolverine, done by the same team that did the Spider-Man games, but it's going to be Wolverine roving around Canada doing Wolverine things. We have a Blade game in the works, which is
Hmm.
probably going to come out before the movie actually does. And we have an Iron
Yeah.
Man game in the works. So, like, Marvel has a lot coming up soon. DC has a small window, though. They can do something with this. Right now, they only have The Wolf Amongst Us 2 that's kind of coming up, but that's a Vertigo thing, so people don't even really associate that with DC. And of course, we can get Injustice 3. I think that'd be pretty fast. And the new Arkham Batman game, that's years out. What could DC do now to try to get a jump on Marvel? Because Marvel's next big games aren't coming out for another like year and a half, maybe two. This is that narrow window. What can we see happen?
One thing I'm gonna say, it pisses me off that you said there's a new Iron Man because that's essentially what we've been talking about with Superman. You want to talk about flying and stuff like that, open
Yeah,
world. I mean, come on, it's there. Like it can be done.
you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know what DC. That's too short of a time. spam. I mean, unless
What about a
Injustice 3
remaster
comes
for the
out.
Arkham games? I hate to say that, but that might be
Oh my
enough to
God,
kind of
that
sell.
pissed me off.
I would buy them though. I would
They
buy them.
already look gorgeous still to me. So I'm
They
like, does
still
it?
hold up quite well. You're
Yeah,
right, but that first
yeah,
one, I could see them use the Scarecrow. Ooh, the Scarecrow levels are the
yeah.
peak of the game
That's
design.
sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I don't know. They've got to do something. The fact when they came out with that app the same time Marvel was released, I was like, you guys are done. And this is all
yeah,
based off of an article done by Polygon. This is what we're bringing this up. And when they were just like they lost that so hard with Rivals.
yeah.
What about a Saints Row type game that's based around Penguin? Wouldn't that be kind of cool? Like you're a mob
Do you
boss in the
want it to be
streets.
lighthearted like Saints Row or take itself seriously like Game of
Yeah, I
Like
Thrones
mean,
Saints
or
yeah,
Row
Grand
it's
Theft Auto
one.
does?
same kind of gameplay, but yeah, I guess it could be more serious. For just like make it like the show.
Like Saints Row like 1 or 2 ish or whatever. One is a little bit more than just
Yeah.
fucking whatever it's become now.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's
But like
something
you're
about
saying, Swiss,
yeah,
it'll
whenever I
take
hear
too
the
long to make
Maronis
something
and
like
stuff
that.
like that, I get excited. Like, oh, street level
Yeah,
Batman, here we go, baby. You know.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't know.
it's a tough one, and honestly, I want them to do better because I think WB Games is a fantastic studio when they are firing on all cylinders, and DC has the properties to do something really good outside of the Trinity, guys. You can do other things.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
A Here we go, Flash game where you're traveling through time. Boom, right there. That's another one you guys could do. Stuff like that would be a
Yeah.
blast. But it'll be interesting. If you guys have any ideas on this, if you guys want to continue this discussion, join us on social media, and we'll be chatting about it. We've already had a few people that basically are pitching Arkham as like the savior.
Yeah. Way
Um,
creative. Super creative.
I know I just want something different than that.